morning all. Gonna have a talk this morning, I know it's early, but about corruption of our justice system. Of course, that goes back to political parties, but it's also intellectual property theft, really. I did a monumentous amount of work over the last couple of years. It's great, a lot of First Nations coming on board, but it's the results of sharing that. We do have a couple firms from BC, but then we got other problems. We got NDP hijacking the narrative, taking the work, the narrative, looking at it, and then deriving other conclusions and creating another narrative that fits colonial crown Canada. Canadians, First Nations, NDP. Oh boy. Breaks in the video again. I love the dead spots, Ontario, just fantastic. So to get back, NDP, Canadians, First Nations, NDP has no intention of ever eliminating the Crown, let alone ever seeing the first class face justice, because in Canada there is no justice system outside of the class structure. All First Nations should know this. You're on the outside looking in. It's been not apartheid, but defined genocide. And the minute you hear a lawyer talking outside of the crime of genocide, they're already trying to leave the international stage and come right back to the corruption of what is Canada. A crap system. They could try to follow suit with South Africa, another colonial country. That's reality. Most African nations were completely colonized by colonial powers, just as Canada was. The atrocities committed there are no different than the atrocities committed in Canada, because it's the same system. And the sooner we all come together in terms and conditions that focus on that, the sooner we can absolutely get justice. Now, just like all those systems, colonial systems, like the one we're in, the class structure system, first, second, third class, the unwritten customary law attached to a constitution that only reinforces that. Nothing will ever change. The genocide of First Nations will continue, as it will continue for all kinds of other groups that can come anytime with any elected official. You just never know. You never know what you're going to get. And you may have buyer's remorse, but you're locked in. What China presented for us, the CCP, was this: that Canada needs to change its system so that this is ensured to never happen again. And it can't. As I get into part 2 tonight, as I continue on with the modules 2B, we're going to look at how those powers viewed that back in 1960, what they did that benefited First Nations and Africans alike. And that was led by Russia. We're going to get into that. But until we stop going with the parties who are institutionalized in the colonialism, who have no interest in ever leaving, doesn't matter, a Métis man comes forward, I'm a lawyer, let's change the narrative, let's use somebody's work, but let's get away from international law. That's their way of giving it back to the first class, to punish the third class in the name of, and actually never change anything. That's reality. And nothing will ever change until you all come to terms with this is an international mandated problem that has to be seen in their justice system. You're never going to see justice in Canada. It's impossible. Constitutionally impossible. All that's going to happen is nobody's going to get any reconciliation, and a whole bunch of people are going to pay for pure criminals. And all the lawyers All the justices in Canada are sworn and bound to that corrupted system. That's what we have in Canada. That's why not every measure of law is the same for every individual. First, second, third, and first peoples. Those are the laws. Not equal, not the same. Segregation, apartheid, strong words, but only gives the power to your government. Who is perpetuating it? Don't trust NDP. Don't trust Liberal. Don't trust Conservative. PPC, garbage. They're all garbage because they all want the crown. Until somebody comes forward with absolute constitutional dismemberment, redesign, and design of regional constitutions to enshrine your God-given rights, you'll have nothing. You'll never have anything. And you'll always be subject to incompetence, corruption, and worse, tyrants. Tyrants, lunatics coming forward. Any day of the week, a Hitler can come forward and they can destroy all your lives. Just like that. It's that easy. That's my video. Share, share, share. Jagmeet Singh and the rest of his pompous group are losers. Can't do any work for themselves. They're guilty of the genocide as well. There's a long list of genocides committed by NDP. In the provinces, that's reality. They had a chance. They were in those positions. What did they do? They did the opposite, First Peoples. They did the opposite. Because everyone gets drunk with the crown. And until they want to end the Constitution as it is and design regional constitutions, we're never getting out of this. Never. Never, never, never. And they don't want to. They want the power, they want the control, and they want to oppress all of us. Thanks, that's my video this morning. Share, 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 because it's the truth, it's important, and it will lead to justice, real justice. Thank you. Bye now.